So today I am at one of the locations I like to come and test my vehicles out, because as you can see there are plenty of stuff to play around in over here, and it is also right next to the city. And the reason I am here is because I've recently bought a 1994 Land Rover Discovery 1. Now, why would I buy a nearly 30-year-old Discovery or Land Rover and suggest that you should buy one as well? Well, there are many reasons for it, and this is why I am making this video today. So let's have a look. So starting with the first and most obvious reason for me wanting to buy this car, and it is simply because I just wanted one. A couple of friends of mine have them. I have always been looking around for one. I did want to buy one in the UK, if you were watching the previous videos, but sadly that didn't work out because insurance prices are just too high in the UK. They needed 6 grand per year to insure me on one of these, when the actual vehicle is only worth £1,500. So that was pretty insane. But now that I'm in Cyprus and insurance prices over here are far more reasonable and cars are not rotten out, I decided to jump on one and see what owning a Land Rover is all about and how unreliable or reliable they are. The second reason is that these cars are very capable off-road. The Land Rover Discovery 1 shares the same chassis as a Defender 90. It may not be the exact same chassis, but all the suspension components and pretty much the engines are the same. And it also shares the same platform as the Range Rover Classic. So there is no denying that these cars are very capable off-road. They have solid front and rear axles, which I always wanted, because I do believe IFS is pretty limited when it comes to extreme off-roading. And as you may know, my other vehicle, the Land Cruiser Prado 90 series, has IFS suspension. It's great on road, but off-road it does have its limitations. The third reason is that Land Rovers and pretty much every 4x4 in the market right now, not every 4x4, but the most iconic and the the 4x4s people always wanted have been going up in value in pretty worrying rates. So I was afraid that soon these cars would get a bit too expensive to justify buying. And when I saw this one for sale for it was 3,000 euros, a couple of friends of mine went and picked it up. They bargained down to 2,300 euros and got this car, which for the price I think is not bad at all. So I haven't seen the car. I owned the car for a month but never saw it because I was outside the country, and when I came back, thankfully it was a bit better than I expected. So pretty much the fourth and final reason I wanted to own a Land Rover Discovery is just to get the experience myself, because I do believe that without owning a lot of different vehicles and experiencing them, you can't really have a valid opinion on which ones are the best. People say Toyotas are the best, people say Nissans are the best, Land Rovers are the best, but most of them have never really owned or even driven anything else than the vehicle they say is the best. So until now we have a Land Cruiser, a Suzuki Vitara, which I sold and I didn't really enjoy, to be honest, and now it's the turn of the Land Rover. So yeah, now that we have the reasons out of the way, let's have a look around the vehicle. So let's have a look at what I have bought. Now, it is obvious that this vehicle has been neglected, and that is true through the tires, which are very worn and cracked. The rear is ready to fall apart, and it is also different than the rest of the tires. So someone didn't pay much attention on that. The whole thing is very muddy because yesterday I was doing some very important R&D. Pretty much I was off-roading it just to see what it can do in stock form with these very bad tires, and I must say that I am very impressed by this thing. It had no issues keeping up with a Nissan Patrol that was stock, and we did follow a Nissan Patrol on a 2-inch lift with 33-inch mud tires. So I did leave the side steps on because this thing sits pretty low in stock form, and as you can see, they did protect the sides of the vehicle many times. So when I lift this thing, I have a lift kit that has arrived actually. When I lift it, I will put some rock sliders down there so we can protect the doors. Now let's have a look on the inside of this thing. It has 278,000 kilometers on it, which isn't too bad, to be honest. These diesel engines are pretty reliable. The interior is clean. Did have a small tear right here, which I repaired. The steering wheel was worn out, so I've put this cover on it. I took it to like interior repair shop to do all the work. It is a bit dirty in here. It's not the worst I've seen, that's for sure, but a quick shampoo would sort that out. A very common issue on these cars is rust on the Alpine windows right here, because water gets accumulated down here. It sits in between the rubbers and the thing rusts out. I did remove the window yesterday actually, sanded down all the rust, put some rust converter on it, some paint, and now I have stopped the rust. Obviously this is a bit ugly, but the whole thing is faded, so I don't really care. I'm going to be painting the whole car, so that's not an issue. The engine is pretty strong. It doesn't have many oil leaks other than this spill right here, which happened because I am an idiot and I was changing the oil and didn't manage to put the oil in the actual hole. But yeah, that happens sometimes. The front end is straight, and something that I did want to mention in this video was the adaptability these cars have. So this is actually the front shock mount, and this can be unbolted and replaced with a longer, shorter, whatever you want to replace it with, pretty much mount. So the adaptability on these things is very impressive. The same is true for the rear shock mounts. As you can see back here, this is the shock mounts. These two bolts right there hold the mounts. That can be unbolted and replaced for a lower mount, a longer mount, pretty much any sort of mount you want. When I was looking for suspension upgrades on this car, I was very pleased to see that there is certainly no lack of options out there. Far more options than there are available on the Land Cruiser, and that's mainly because this is a coil sprung solid axle vehicle, so people like to modify them, and it also shares the same platform with two other legendary cars. So the market is full of upgrades for these things. The gearbox it's not actually the gearbox, but when you change gears, there is a small clunk, which I believe is some sort of a mount or something. The rear shocks are definitely done, but I don't really care because a lift kit is actually here for this thing. I also have some tires, which I am very excited for, and you will be seeing soon. I bought this vehicle pretty much to do some of the harder tracks in Cyprus. So yeah, it is going to be a beast in a couple of weeks. Now, other than that, the whole car is pretty clean. There aren't many issues with it. I did give it a good service. Everything works fine. Yesterday I did give it a hard time. I actually managed to get it stuck, and I was going in between first gear and reverse for about 10 minutes trying to get it unstuck, and nothing gave up on it. So that was some good testing over there. Somewhere about here I mentioned that I will be doing a small comparison of IFS and solid axles on a section of the road that gets vehicles crossed up, and it is perfect for testing suspension articulation. Sadly, after I took the Land Rover through, it started raining a lot, which made the whole track very muddy, and therefore the test would not be fair. However, I can say that I have driven the Land Cruiser through that part countless times, and without the rear diff lock it struggles because it lifts its front wheels. The Disco has no issues driving through it because the solid axle keeps all wheels on the ground. Each suspension system has its pros and cons, but when it comes to off-roading, there is no denying that the solid front and rear axle have the upper hand. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.